Okay, so picture this. What if the single greatest night of your entire career was also the exact moment you became public enemy number one? For Billie Eilish, February 2026 wasn't some victory lap. No, it was the month a historic Grammy win literally ignited a global firestorm. This is the story of how one speech turned a pop icon into a political target, split Hollywood right down the middle, and put her entire legacy on the line. So let's break down exactly what happened.
And the backlash? Oh, it was immediate and brutally direct. From the world of high finance, you had guys like Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary sending a crystal clear message. He basically framed it as simple math. Artists who get political risk losing half their paying customers. It's that age-old debate, right? Should stars just stick to the script? But just as fast, Hollywood's other side fired right back. You had heavy hitters like Mark Ruffalo jumping to Billie's defense, pretty much arguing that a real artist doesn't just entertain, they're supposed to reflect the world, to challenge it. And just like that, in an instant, the battle lines were drawn. But here's the thing, the criticism wasn't just about if she should speak. It was about what she was saying versus how she was living. The whole debate just pivoted on a dime. It went from her right to have a platform to these really sharp accusations of hypocrisy. Her words were thrown right up against her wealth, and everyone zeroed in on one thing: her multi-million-dollar Malibu home. So, how did we even get here? To really understand this whole war of words, we have to go back to the very first shot fired. Let's rewind the clock just a little bit to the night it all kicked off, the 2026 Grammy Awards. Okay, so you have to understand, this wasn't just any win for Billie Eilish. This was her 10th Grammy. Think about that. At just 24 years old, this victory put her in a legendary pantheon of artists. It basically cemented her status as one of the most decorated, one of the most influential musicians of her entire generation. And the award itself? It was the biggest honor of the night, Song of the Year. She and her brother Phineas, they get up on stage to accept the trophy for their amazing track, Wildflower. You know, it really should have been this moment of just pure, perfect triumph. But, well, it wasn't the song people would end up remembering. It was the speech. After thanking the Academy, Billie looks straight into the camera and delivers the 9 words that would spark a massive international debate. And just like that, the fuse was lit. In the days that followed, it felt like 2 warring camps just formed. It was like you were either with Billie or you were against her. There was no middle ground. And this whole fight for the narrative played out in headlines and all over our social media feeds, everywhere. And really, the whole debate boiled down to 2 totally opposing philosophies. On one hand, you had Kevin O'Leary's side, basically saying it's a tactical error, right? Politics is just bad for business, costs you fans. But then, for supporters like Mark Ruffalo, it wasn't about business at all. It was about an artist's fundamental duty to use their platform to say something real. But the criticism, it snowballed way beyond just a simple disagreement. Suddenly, accusations of performative activism were absolutely everywhere, with critics just relentlessly pointing to her Malibu property. Then the situation escalated even more when an activist, Drew Pavlo, was denied entry to the US after a stunt at her mansion. A law firm even jokingly offered to serve her an eviction notice. The message from the pundits was just deafening: stick to the music. Okay, but as this public war of words was hitting a fever pitch, a completely different story was starting to bubble up. Not in the big headlines, but more in whispers and, those zoomed-in photos. It was the ultimate plot twist, completely shifting the world's focus from a political firestorm to a very, very private romance. Yeah, because while all the pundits were debating immigration policy, the eagle-eyed fans, they were poring over photos from the Grammys, fixated on one thing and one thing only: a massive sparkling ring on that finger. And look, this ring wasn't just some random piece of jewelry. This relationship with musician Nat Wolff had been quietly building for years. I mean, they started as friends way back in 2023, then they became collaborators on tour in 2024, and by the time they shared that now famous kiss in Venice in mid-2025, it was pretty clear this was serious. So, the Grammy ring, it felt like the totally inevitable next chapter.
And it wasn't just the ring either. Reports from inside the ceremony describe them as totally inseparable. According to Elite Daily, they were cuddled up all night long, with Nat just playing the proud, supportive partner. This didn't seem like it was just for the cameras. This looked like the real deal. And it absolutely fueled this intense speculation that, okay, a wedding has to be next.
So what do you do when the entire world is dissecting your politics and your love life? Well, if you're Billie Eilish, you don't respond at all. You make a power move. You go completely silent on all the drama, and then you announce a project so massive it just silences all the noise and reminds everyone why they were paying attention in the first place. I mean, you don't just drop a new single. No, you team up with the king of the world himself. Yes, that James Cameron, the visionary mind behind Titanic and Avatar. We're talking about a legend. So on May 8th, Billie isn't just releasing some concert film. Oh no, she is dropping a full-on 3D cinematic experience, co-directed by James Cameron. Think about that. This is an Avatar-level event, a total blockbuster spectacle designed to lift her art way above all the chatter and the headlines. And that brings all the pieces of this incredible puzzle together. You have the history-making artist, the political firebrand, the rumored fiancé, and the cinematic game-changer. All in the span of one absolutely chaotic month, Billie Eilish has become one of the most fascinating and deeply polarizing figures in modern culture. So this really brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of this whole firestorm. When all the dust finally settles, who is Billie Eilish, really? Is she the authentic, unfiltered voice of her generation, the one who's risking it all to speak her truth? Or is she becoming an out-of-touch star whose powerful message just gets lost in the echo chamber of her own privilege? Ultimately, how she navigates this very moment, that's what's going to define her entire legacy.
Thanks for watching Media GenX. If you liked this story, show some love with a like, subscribe for future updates, and share it around. Until the next headline.